No teaser today, I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll. From its inaugural blast-off and its moon landing on August 1st, 1981, till the clock struck midnight really on New Year's Eve 1989, MTV in the 80s were a match made in heaven. The decade was no doubt the most important in the network's history and was stacked with landmark moments, famously opening with the Buggles, Video Killed the Radio Star.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
MTV quickly became part of the fabric of our lives, right? Its humble origins, began with a very limited library of music videos. They didn't have a lot when they started, but it wasn't long before the channel caught fire and everybody was making videos. It became the juggernaut that powered the lives of music lovers everywhere, even if you weren't a music lover. The I Want MTV ad campaign, that hammered the brand into public consciousness.
America, demand your MTV! I want my MTV!
Rock and pop stars came out of the woodwork to throw in their support for that one. And as the decade unfolded, we were hit with music videos that revolutionized the medium and kept our eyes glued to the screen. I remember the summer I got MTV in our house. I know you do too. Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf, Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer, Dire Straits' Money for Nothing, Genesis' Land of Confusion, Michael Jackson's Thriller. The list goes on and on and on. And surrounding the never-ending lineup of videos were moments that put MTV down in pop culture history. I mean, Madonna's Like a Virgin performance at the 1984 MTV Video Music Awards, the Live Aid coverage, the Run-DMC Aerosmith collab on Walk This Way, Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home breaking Dial MTV, the debut of MTV Unplugged in '89. But sadly, without even hitting its 45th anniversary, MTV it's done. It's been unplugged once and for all. Actually, on December 31st, 2025, the last of MTV's dedicated 24-hour music television channels ceased global broadcasting, ending over 4 decades of continuous music program. There's a lot of channels that still played music, actually, because MTV had a lot of different channels. Shutdown affected 5 major channels: MTV Live, MTV Music, MTV 80s, MTV 90s, and MTV Hits. The closure impacted countries in Europe and Asia and Australia and South America. Really only the flagship MTV channel remains, which has nothing to do with music videos at all. They should rename it. It's all lame, melodramatic reality TV. This is why we can't have nice things. We've all watched as MTV died a heartbreaking death, sacrificing its name and history on the altar of reality TV. The network that was once the lifeblood for so many became the ultimate bad joke. YouTube came in and filled the void that left, I guess, right? But network, if they'd had any vision, maybe they could have beat YouTube to the punch, at least on the music video side. Maybe we'd be telling a different story here. But MTV has gone the way of Blockbuster into complete irrelevancy.
Blockbuster's hot summer hits. Take them home and make it a Blockbuster night.
So today, as a sad tribute and really a eulogy to our once beloved friend, we grew up on this stuff, I'm going to count down the top music video from its greatest decade, the 80s. Continue to live on from the network's heyday. The list is straightforward, using the viewership numbers from MTV's successor in a way, YouTube. It's not the same watching music videos on YouTube, though. We want a live channel that spits them out. But I'm going to go with the top 8 from the 80s, the 8 biggest 80s music videos on the platform, and the story behind those videos. And in between, some great stories. But, I'm going to talk about some different shout-outs to their iconic programming in between, so let's get started. All right, coming in number 8, with 1.4 billion views, I got the music video for Bon Jovi's signature track, Living on a Prayer. So by the time Bon Jovi released Living on a Prayer in October '86, the band was on the cusp of becoming global superstars. Slippery When Wet's first single, You Give Love a Bad Name, it became their first #1 hit there. And history, well, it was about to repeat itself. The music video for Living on a Prayer seems to capture that moment that Bon Jovi rocketed to stardom. Now, it was directed by Wayne Isham. He was an emerging talent at the time. He'd previously directed Motley's Home Sweet Home music video that caught fire. He'd also worked with Styx and the Psychedelic Furs and also Howard Jones. And he'd already done You Give Love a Bad Name for the band, so it was a good resume. He was ready. He'd already worked with them. But Isham initially faced resistance from the man John Bon Jovi himself. Over the Living on the Prayer music video, Wayne said, and I quote, "I love just losing your mind to music. I appreciate a great show. So when the opportunity came up for Bon Jovi, I said, I know what to do. But John said no. He hated my guts. He didn't want me to have anything to do with it." It's funny that he hated his guts when he had done the video for You Give Love a Bad Name. Anyway, by the end of the shoot, though, Wayne would win the guys over. The Living on a Prayer video was filmed on September 17, 1986 at the Grand Olympic Auditorium in LA, a venue with deep boxing and wrestling history there. By the time Isham brought Bon Jovi there in 86, the arena had this kind of worn-in blue-collar aesthetic, which worked really well, matching the song's narrative about Gina and Tommy holding on through tough times. The production aimed for a bigger-than-life feel, and of course it hit that in every way. The idea was to create a mock live show with elaborate staging. It was go big or go home. So Bon Jovi wired their singer to a stunt rig, and they turned up the pyrotechnics for maximum effect. Of course, this is an era before CGI could fake all this stuff. It was much cooler, I think. Of course, John and the guys took turns being strapped into a professional harness and then, launched over the stage and the crowd. They had the wires on them. And the stunt became one of the video's most memorable moments, of course. Another brief but unforgettable moment for Richie Sambora was a complex shot with fireworks and flames. Sambora recalled pyrotechnic sparks raining down as he personally led the cameraman through the falling fireworks with a protective cover overhead. He said that he was mesmerized by the fiery spectacle, and he just stood there under the sparks. Almost to his own detriment, though. He almost caught fire. Finally had to run away for his own safety so that he wouldn't ruin the shot. But what really sold the video more than anything, let's be honest, John Bon Jovi's $1 million smile. Shot after shot, it was a close-up of the infectious frontman who brought the energy to match that song. It will forever go down as one of the greats. All right, before we get to the number 7 spot, I do want to touch on the I Want MTV campaign.
I want my MTV. All right.
In 1982, MTV kicked off the iconic call to action that we all know by heart. It was a desperate guerrilla marketing blitz to force cable operators to carry the struggling 24/7 music channel. It took a little while for it to get going, right? Viewers were directed to call their cable companies and demand, I want my MTV. Rock stars like The Police, Cyndi Lauper, and Pat Benatar participated in the campaign, and the push worked like dynamite, one of the best ever.
Call your cable company and say, I want my MTV.
Within months, MTV jumped from a few million homes to over 80% of the U.S., securing its cultural takeover. It was also later name-checked in Dire Straits' Money for Nothing, right? All right, at number 7, I've got Careless Whisper with a 1.5 billion views. So Wham's second album, Make It Big, dropped on November 5th, 1984 in the UK. And sure, it only had 8 tracks, but this thing was a juggernaut from the get-go. It would go on to sell 10 million copies worldwide on the backs of 4 heavyweight singles, Wake Me Up Before You Go-Go, Freedom, Everything She Wants, and of course, Careless Whisper. It went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Also went to number 1 on the Adult Contemporary chart, and number 3 on the Hot Dance Singles chart. It's not really a dance song. The song itself, though, was inspired by George Michael's own real-life relationship drama. Said George, the whole idea of Careless Whisper was the first girl finding out about the second. I started another relationship with a girl, without finishing the one I was already in. It all got a bit complicated. It's also pretty complicated because, he was in the closet. Careless Whisper was us dancing and the idea that we were dancing, but she knows and it's finished, and that was a metaphor. So the Careless Whisper music video, that started out as a glossy narrative shoot in Miami in early 1984. 1984 in Miami, it couldn't have been more perfect. But in the initial round of production, George Michael worked with producer Jerry Wexler. However, the production was a disaster, and George grew increasingly unhappy with how the whole thing looked and felt. This is supposed to be his first big solo statement, He wasn't happy with what he was seeing. The humidity in Florida caused George Michael's hair to curl so much that he was really unhappy with how it looked and everything, so he flew out his hairdresser from England to Miami just to cut and restyle it during the shoot and had to start over. Afterwards, he brought in director Andrew Morahan to film new performance footage at a theater in London. They intercut those UK reshoots with the Miami footage to create a new version of the video. The result is the now familiar official video. Tighter, moodier performance visuals that disguise all the original production nightmares. George Michael's crazy hair there. But years later, George Michael would reflect on Careless Whisper with a mix of pride and confusion. He said, and I quote, "I'm still a bit puzzled why it's made such an impression on people. I mean, is it because so many people have cheated on their partners? Is that why they connect with it? I have no idea, but it's ironic that this song, which has come to define me in some way, should have been written right at the beginning of my career when I was still so young. I was only 17 and didn't really know much about anything. Certainly nothing much about relationships." And of course, George ended up giving Andrew Ridgeley a writing credit on it, even though it was solely a George Michael composition. Again, he wrote it when he was 17. He did it as a friend because he knew it would set Andrew up for the long haul, and George knew he was going to have a big solo career. So really cool. All right, I want to give a shout out to everybody's favorite game show from 80s MTV. Talking about remote control. I never missed an episode.
His own game show. Remote control.
It launched on December 7, 1987 and was the beginning of MTV's pivot to original programming. Staging a gloriously trashy game show in host Ken Ober's home, actually his mom's basement.
Oh, it's his basement, his rules, his game show, Ken Ober.
With trivia contestants strapped into ejector chairs, the show's sadistic gimmicks hooked Gen X for sure. Losers got yanked through breakaway walls, flipped backward into the infamous flipper chair, while winners faced a chaotic final round strapped to an adjustable bed, naming artists across 9 blaring TVs. Loved it.
Video screens. You get all 9 right, you take home all this stuff, including the big one.
Now, I want to mention today's sponsor. You know, one of my New Year's resolutions was to improve the quality of my sleep. And I searched online about it, and I came to the conclusion that the best place for me to start is with a new mattress. Now, having the right mattress, I mean, that can help you sleep better, which means you'll feel well-rested and ready to tackle all your goals, right? Then my search brought me to Helix, because of the great reviews. I clicked on the site, and I took a very short Helix sleep quiz to find the mattress option that was the best match for me and my wife. Now, when our new Helix mattress arrived and we slept on it for the very first time, man, I loved the comfort, but I was really shocked at how immediately it worked its magic. I mean, after the first night, I woke up so refreshed. I didn't lay there feeling like I didn't get enough sleep like normal. My wife told me she didn't hear me snore, and that's a first. Helix offers a 120-night sleep trial to test the mattress out and ensure that you'll love it. Plus, Helix mattresses come with a lifetime warranty. Now, if you're not in the market for a new mattress, but you want to improve your old one, Helix offers the perfect solution with their range of mattress toppers. They're a great option as they extend the life of your old mattress while providing you with that new mattress feel. I want to say thank you so much to Helix Sleep for sponsoring this edition of Professor of Rock. Visit helixsleep.com/Professor of Rock and take advantage of their flash sale to get 20% off site-wide when you type in the promo code HelixPartner20, all caps, no separation. Next at number 6 on our countdown, I've got the video for the song that Sting called Very, Very Sinister and Ugly. One of the most misinterpreted songs of all time, the all-too-common wedding anthem that's actually quite the opposite. Talk about Every Breath You Take by the Police. Every Breath You Take was, of course, a phenomenon from the very beginning, going to number 1 on multiple U.S. charts, not just the Hot 100, but it claimed the top spot on Cashbox chart, also the mainstream rock chart, and also reached number 5 on the US AC chart. It was number 1 for 8 weeks on the Hot 100. Internationally, it broke into the top 10 in more than 20 different countries. Jump ahead to 2019, and Every Breath You Take was just named the most performed song at the BMI Pop Awards with over 15 million radio plays. So far, the official music video has amassed 1.57 billion views. It's actually the most played song in radio history. Rewind back to 1983, and MTV was exploding in popularity, and it seemed like music videos were getting more sophisticated by the day. Now, by then, the Police were one of the biggest bands on the planet, if not the biggest. I think they were. So they knew that they had to step up their music video game. To do this, they hired the brilliant duo of Godley and Cream to direct their videos for Synchronicity. including Every Breath You Take. Godley and Cream had built a solid reputation as both innovative video directors and intelligent musicians, making them the perfect fit for what the police were wanting. When it came to Every Breath You Take, man, the duo did more than give us a literal interpretation of the stalker-like lyrics. It's chilling. The inspiration actually came from a 5-minute film made by Albanian photographer Jean Millie all the way back in 1944. Record executive Jeff Ayeroff, he showed the band this black and white footage of jazz legends like Lester Young and Joe Jones and Illinois Jacket playing in a smoky nightclub. According to Andy Summers, Godley and Cream basically copied it, shot by shot. Said Summers, a lot of people think our video is fantastic, but to me it's just okay. Even if it was derivative, the concept worked beautifully though. The video captures the trio in stark black and whites. Sting on double bass, Andy on guitar, Stuart Copeland on drums. The film noir atmosphere of the 40s comes alive with swirling cigarette smoke, creating that moody jazz club vibe. Sting would say, and I quote, "Stark black and white colors. I always like black and white because I'm colorblind. I always think there's more information in black and white film than there is in color film. It has a drama to it. And there was a sense of irony about it. And the irony was key to it all. I mean, here's this dark song about obsession and surveillance, but the video presents it like a cool, sophisticated jazz performance. Interesting because the music video, like the song, masks it a little bit, because it's this cool, sophisticated jazz performance. And there's a contrast between the unsettling lyrics and that smooth visual aesthetic that, amps up the mysterious appeal of the song. But to me, there's a veil, and under that veil, just like in the song, those shots, Sting's face, you can feel that chilling presence of Sting and surveillance in the video. If you look a little deeper, you can feel that, you can see it. So I think it's hidden underneath a little bit, but once you see it, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Whether it was borrowed brilliance or not, the video for Every Breath You Take became iconic in its own right. And man, mixed with the lyrics and the music, it's perfection. All right, so we made it to number 5, and it's Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper with a total of 1.6 billion views. Believe it or not, Cyndi Lauper almost passed on Girls Just Want to Have Fun. She didn't think it was all that good of an idea at first, but then our producer, Rick Chertoff, he challenged her. He said, think of what this song could mean. And then after giving it some thought, Cyndi began to see the song differently. She thought about her grandmother, her aunt, her mother. Said Cyndi, and I quote, "I thought that maybe I could do something and say something so loud that every girl could hear. Every girl, every color." And I said to myself, hell yeah, I'll make it an anthem. Maybe it'll be something that will bring us all together and wake us all up. And she was spot on. Girls Just Want to Have Fun was revolutionary. And so was Weird Al's take.
Oh, girls just want to have lunch.
Cyndi committed to making the video a visual anthem as well. She wanted every woman watching to see herself represented, whether thin or heavy or glamorous or not. And with basically no budget at all, she made that happen. Now, the video was directed by Ed Griles, and it was shot on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. All the girls in the video opened up their closets and shared clothes. They didn't buy them, they didn't have the money to buy them, so they did that. Cyndi recruited friends and family to fill out the cast, and the shoot turned into one big party. The video opens with Cyndi dancing down the street before stepping inside her house, where she has run-ins with each of her parents. And the mom in the video, it's actually her real mother. Said Cyndi, "I cast my mother, to be honest, because I just wanted to hang out with her. And you know what? She was a natural." Cyndi Lauper's scolding father, of course played by pro wrestler Captain Lou Albano. The whole video it's 80s glory, isn't it? It's just a joyous experience with Cyndi calling up her girlfriends for a good time and some dancing in the streets that really, it's got that 80s aesthetic. The clip culminates with Cyndi and her girls making their way back to her place and parading past her parents to her bedroom where they keep the good times going. Even guys get in on this one. The music video started receiving airplay on MTV in October of 1983, and it went on to win the first award for Best Female Video at the 1984 MTV Video Music Awards. According to Cyndi, a lot of people remember Girls Just Want to Have Fun was an instant smash, but it actually wasn't. MTV played it a little at first, but not all that much. When it hit radio, only 7 stations in the entire country added it. Cyndi even got a letter from a powerful national programmer telling her that the record would never be big because she sang too high. So that's where her team had to get creative. Get this, they reached out to wrestling promoter Vince McMahon and had him cook up some cross-promotion with Captain Lou Albano. That's how Cyndi's record really broke. Through wrestling shows of all things. And in the end, Cyndi got exactly what she wanted. An anthem for women around the world. A sustaining message that we are powerful human beings, and mission accomplished through her wrestling buddies. Now, before we get to number 4, I want to talk, or at least touch upon, the great MTV contests. MTV's 1980s contests were gloriously unhinged, with fans entering by the millions for life-altering or life-threatening prizes. Tied to their favorite acts, of course. Van Halen's 1984 Lost Weekend, that sent one winner on a booze-soaked, drug-fueled bender with the band. Motley Crue upped the ante in '86 with a cruise to Bermuda Triangle of the Crue, promising a yacht party in the infamous Danger Zone. And John Bon Jovi helped the network give away his childhood home. To name just a few.
You can win the house where John Bon Jovi grew up in MTV's Giving Away Bon.
Heading into the number 4 spot, you've been rickrolled. That's right, with 1.7 billion views as Rick Astley with Never Gonna Give You Up. And that's actually all I can show you because the label or whoever owns it gives automatic copyright claims for Never Gonna Give You Up. They'll take your video down, so I can only show you the visuals. Here in the US, Never Gonna Give You Up went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, the Cashbox chart, and the Dance Club chart. And in the UK, it was the biggest single in 1987, sitting at number 1 for 5 weeks. Never Gonna Give You Up killed it across the globe, topping the charts in 25 different countries. Of course, those original numbers aren't the reason it scored so high on this list, right? The reason, of course, because of the Rickroll. But without the music video, we wouldn't have the Rickroll. Now, Rick was just a shy kid from a small town. His music career would start from humble beginnings as a T-boy, running errands and cleaning up in the studio. But Never Gonna Give You Up changed everything for him, and for us, really. When Rick finally got on the mic, though, no one could deny the power of his voice. And since the song was released before he had an album or a music video, or there were even pictures released of him, his image was a complete mystery in the mind of the public. Astley was going number 1 on pop stations, even country stations, even black stations. And because of his voice, most people assumed that he was a black artist. Little did anyone know it was just a scrawny white kid belting all this out. The music video was the big reveal, though. It's pure 80s pop magic. Since the song was a surprise hit, this label had to throw it all together really fast. Rick, who had never been in front of a camera before, had no idea what to expect here. They just threw him in there and told him to dance. He didn't really do that. So this was just off the cuff, and Rick had to raid his own closet for the wardrobe. All those classic outfits you see in the video, those were all Rick's originally. The raincoat, the black turtleneck, the striped shirt and blazer, Rick rocking the double denim, all him. The label didn't buy him, they were out of his closet. The production team surrounded Rick with professional dancers who had some serious 80s moves, but it was Rick's moves that would be immortalized until the end of time. Now, Rick admittedly had no idea what he was doing. In his words, he said, "I just shuffled around a bit. I was about as vulnerable as you could possibly be making a video." Of course, fast forward to 2007, Rick had retired from the music industry, really, and was happy living out of the public eye. But while on vacation in Italy, he got an email from a friend. Of course, attached to it was a link. Rick clicked on it, and then suddenly, Rickroll. He had just been Rickrolled for the very first time. As the phenomenon grew, Rick was completely perplexed by what was happening. But in time, he, of course, came to embrace it. Instead of being the butt of the joke, he was all in on the joke. Once again, the Never Gonna Give You Up music video was everywhere, all over pop culture, from taking over YouTube's homepage in 2008 to becoming a funeral hymn on Ted Lasso, from the Macy's Day Parade to Major League Baseball games to Rick Talk. It became the music video that would never die, and one that we hope Never will. All right, in at number 3, we got Axl, Slash, and the rest with Sweet Child of Mine at 1.8 billion views. It's Guns N' Roses. Now, back in the day, Geffen's A&R guy, Tom Zutaut, saw this one coming from a mile away. He knew Sweet Child of Mine would launch GNR into the stratosphere, so he made a brilliant strategic move. He buried the track deep on Appetite for Destruction. It was track 9 out of 12. Said Tom in a quote, "I did that because I knew that promotion people and radio people at the time very rarely listened past the first 2 or 3 songs. I didn't want that song to be discovered until later. The song was a force to be reckoned with, though, and he wanted to build up some buzz before releasing it. And that strategy worked perfectly. Sweet Child of Mine dropped as a single in June of '88, about a year after Appetite for Destruction hit store shelves. It immediately cracked the US Top 40, and from there the song and album climbed the charts almost in lockstep, with Appetite reaching number 1 on August 6, 1988, and Sweet Child following about a month later on September 10th. But not only did Sweet Child dominate both mainstream radio, it became an MTV sensation as well. I mean, do you remember the summer of '88 into the fall of '88? It was Guns N' Roses' channel. There'd actually been 2 failed attempts to shoot Sweet Child of Mine before it all came together, though. The location and crew were booked twice, but the band didn't show up because they were quote-unquote sick. Whether that hungover or baked or legitimately ill, I don't know. I'll let you decide. But I guess the third time was the charm, and the guys finally got it together. Directed by Nigel Dick, a veteran for sure, the video was shot over 2 days at Mendiola's Ballroom in Huntington Park. The concept, though, was pretty basic, just the band rehearsing. But Axl also wanted his girlfriend Erin Everly in the video. She was the girl, of course, who inspired the song. Of course, daughter of Don Everly. But to keep things cool with the rest of the guys, he made sure all their ladies got screen time as well. Izzy's girlfriend Angie, Duff's wife Mindy, and Steven's wife Cheryl all made appearances on the video. Dick later admitted, "After the first couple of takes, I thought, man, this is awful. It's so dull." But the Geffen executives standing behind him were saying, "This is so freaking cool." And Nigel Dick was thinking, "I'm just shooting guys playing guitar. What's so special about that?" But people thought it was the hottest thing in the world. And of course, they were right. Sometimes simple just works, especially when it's Guns N' Roses. Decades later, the Sweet Child of Mine video still packs the heat, unfiltered rock authenticity, making rock and roll dangerous again, like I always say. Sweet Child of Mine wasn't just a song for the moment in history, that moment. It was destined to become one of the biggest rock songs ever, and it became the first music video from the 80s of any genre to break 1 billion views on YouTube. Now it's almost at 2 billion. It's on the verge of crossing that next threshold. I think it will double that in the next 10. All right, here we are at the runner-up. The number 2 all-time biggest 80s music video is the King of Pop, Michael Jackson, with Billie Jean. 2 billion views and counting. So MJ's Thriller dropped on December 1st, 1982, and by the end of '83, it had sold a staggering 13 million copies in the US and almost 22 million worldwide. At its peak, the album was moving 500,000 copies a week, spent an incredible 37 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard charts. But Thriller's impact went way beyond sales figures. The album was a multimedia cultural earthquake that's never and will never be matched. And I mean that. I don't want to hear anything about Taylor Swift here, because MJ, he's in his own league. It's not even close. But I'm not hating on Taylor Swift here. I'm not hating on anybody. I'm just saying Michael Jackson's the biggest ever. I don't think anybody comes close. He was bigger than the Pope at this time. He was bigger than presidents, world leaders. From 1982 to 1984, Thriller shattered every barrier. Age, gender, ethnicity, nationality, musical genre. Rock fans love it. R&B fans love it. It conquered America and then spread to every populated continent on Earth. Now, Billie Jean was released as a single on January 2nd, 1983, and within a month it cracked the top 10, and by March 5th it grabbed number 1. But getting the music video played on MTV was anything but easy. I mean, the network flat out refused to add the video into rotation. They told CBS Records they didn't see a black R&B singer fitting their rock identity. CBS Records president Walter Yentikoff wasn't having it, though. He reportedly threatened to pull all CBS's videos from MTV and go public with their refusal. Around this time, of course, David Bowie used an MTV interview to call out the network on camera. It was awesome. He pressed VJ Mark Goodman about why MTV had an aversion to black artists. Even though Bowie never mentioned Michael Jackson by name, his critique aired the same year Thriller exploded.
I'm just floored by the fact that there's so few black artists featured on it. Why is that?
The message was clear. MTV could no longer ignore black artists. Since then, many from MTV's infancy have denied this, and they denied it was all race-related, but we know better. So after some seriously contentious negotiations, Billie Jean became the first video by a major African-American artist to get played on MTV. To direct the Billie Jean video, Michael tapped Steve Barron. He just wrapped up the Human League's Don't You Want Me. Barron pitched a treatment based on the Midas touch. Everything Michael touching turned into gold. Sidewalks, stairs, the bed at the end, all set aglow by Michael. And of course, the video presents Michael Jackson as a lone, enigmatic figure walking through a stylized cityscape. One of the most iconic visuals ever. Like I said, directed by Steve Barron, the clip mixes noirish touches. A trench coat of paparazzi detectives stalking him, flashing neon signs, and a dingy alley, with Jackson's sleek dance choreography, performing an array of now signature dance moves, some of which he improvised right there on the spot. Without a doubt, Billie Jean was one of the defining visual statements of the early MTV era, and really in music videos at all. And as it went into heavy rotation, it locked down the song's smash hit status, which held #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 7 straight weeks. And then Come On Eileen was #1 for a week, and then Michael Jackson picked right up with Beat It. All right, before we get to the #1 video, I've got some honorable mentions. First, I gotta talk about Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue. Home Sweet Home became the 80s power ballad template. Every single band copied it after. Now, this was even though their label Elektra refused to support it at all. Paying out of their own pocket, Motley Crue shot the 1985 video themselves using tour montage footage. But once MTV threw it in the rotation, the clip dominated Dial MTV for months. In fact, it was so popular that after a while, MTV instituted the so-called Crue rule, limiting new videos to just 30 days on the program so other artists could get some airtime. That's how big this thing was. Next, I gotta mention the 80s queen of pop, Madonna. It was always Michael Jackson, Madonna on that network. Of course, her 1989 smash video Like a Prayer, which was a cultural flashpoint. Using Catholic imagery, burning crosses, stigmata, and her brand of in-your-face sexuality. Many religious groups condemned it as blasphemous. The Vatican and conservative organizations pushed for boycotts, and some broadcasters banned the clip. Pepsi even axed this multi-million-dollar ad campaign built around the song. But MTV kept Like a Prayer in heavy rotation, letting the controversy supercharge the single and Madonna's provocative reputation. And MTV was one to do that, but sometimes they banned their own videos. Finally, I've got to mention Def Leppard and Pour Some Sugar on Me. Do you remember how big this one was? At the time, Def Leppard's Hysteria was underperforming with his first 2 singles, Animal and Women, failing to live up to chart expectations. Hysteria did a little bit better, but Sugar's music video turned it all around and saved the album. MTV blasted the sweat-drenched performance clip nonstop through the summer of '88 thanks to fans lighting up the request lines, and the single shot to #2 in the Hot 100 that July. And of course became Def Leppard's signature anthem. I remember coming home from soccer practice every day to see if it was still #1 on Dial MTV. Soccer games in that summer. What a glorious summer that was, '88. I remember I got MTV in the summer of 1987. Now, before that, I saw it at my friends' houses, but I grew up in a small town, so they didn't have it. You couldn't get cable in all places. When we finally got it in the summer of 1987, I did not leave the television for like 4 months. The entire summer of 1987, going into 1988, was all MTV all the time. What about you? What happened? When did you first get MTV? Let's share some stories. Any guesses what the #1 video of the 80s is? Any guesses out there? Actually, the most played video on MTV, I believe, is I Ran by Flock of Seagulls, but it hasn't been played as much since then. But the #1 music video, according to the data, is Take On Me by a-ha with a total of 2.3 billion views. So Take On Me was already an incredible song without the music video, but let's be honest, it was the groundbreaking video that immortalized a-ha as 80s superstars. But a-ha was fortunate. They're fortunate their label, Warner Brothers, had so much faith in the track that they gave the video director a massive budget for that time, 100,000 pounds. They gave him as much time as he needed to nail this thing. And, you know, that was an unheard of amount of money back then to spend on a new act, especially for an unknown Norwegian band. The director was the same man, Steve Barron, who directed Billie Jean. And his instructions were simple: make an amazing video. If anyone could pull it off, it was Steve Barron. The guy had the experience and the creativity to do something special. Now for Take On Me, Barron decided to do an innovative animation technique called rotoscoping, where animators trace over live action film footage. Said Steve, and I quote, "I decided to do a frame-by-frame animation for Take On Me. No video director had ever had the time or the money to do that. In rotoscope, you shoot everything first as a live action film, and then it's reanimated." To achieve the effect, the video's primary artist, Michael Patterson, had to create thousands of drawings. The storyline follows a young woman, of course played by Bunty Bailey, sitting in a coffee shop flipping through a comic book. The comic features a-ha singer Morten Harket winning a motorcycle race. Suddenly, Harket's band reaches out of the page, inviting Bailey into his animated world. They dance and they have an instant connection. But trouble arrives when the other racers, angry at Morten, give chase. Morten helps Bailey escape back to reality, where she runs home to finish reading the story. In one frame, she sees him lying on the ground, apparently beaten, fears the worst, but of course young love wins out in the end as Morten's animated character shows up in the hallway. And in a brilliant homage to the film Altered States, he slams himself against the walls until he breaks through into her live-action world. It's brilliant. And actually, behind the scenes, there was some real chemistry going on. Director Steve Barron remembered telling Morten to take Bunty by the hand and lead her into the comic world. And by about take 4, they wouldn't stop holding hands, even after he yelled cut. The two ended up dating for a couple of years after that shoot. The video's success was undeniable. Take On Me went to #1 in at least 12 different countries, including the US, and it snagged 6 MTV Video Music Awards in '86. Since then, the video has become a permanent fixture in pop culture with homages and parodies. You know, Weezer, Volkswagen, the Goldbergs, Family Guy, just to name a few. It's hard to believe that a completely different iteration of Take On Me was released as a single in 1984. The song sounded a lot different. That version, though, was a complete flop, but it was retooled and re-recorded and put out a year later and was a cultural revelation. Of course, the music video only helped that. And really, the music video, so #1 time where the music video outdid the song. MTV, we hardly knew ye. What I mean by that is, it was only a music channel for a little while, so it's just sad. We need another MTV. I'm gonna start my own MTV, you just watch. I'm telling you, we need it back. We need that. Leave us a comment below. Let's have a great discussion. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.